Hello and welcome to this amazingly 50th episode of the Madaxeman podcast. We've got the usual crowd here online this week. We've also got the usual set of topics. So we talk about what we painted. Andy's quiz makes an appearance. We do have a bit of a discussion to talk about strippers, which many of us have been using quite extensively over the last few weeks. And also we do have an in memoriam section for our clubmate Clive McLeod, who sadly passed away this week. For those of you who may have known Clive, his family have asked for donations to be made to the British Heart Foundation, so we'll place a link in the podcast to that website as well. Enjoy the 50th podcast.
This means war.
Well, this is it. It's number 50. Can anybody around this screen of the usual gang of 7, can anyone believe that this is now up to 50? Quite remarkable.
After this year, yes, I can.
Yeah, I guess so, actually, yeah. I think much more lockdown, we'd be doing these 3 times a week. It'd be like when EastEnders went to 3 times a week and then Coronation Street came back as well, wouldn't it, and did it all. And suddenly there was 5 days a week of soap opera. But then again, 5 days of painting to fill this podcast would probably send us all slightly batty. So without further ado, let's dive into the what are you up to at the moment. And Adam, you're actually on screen there you're doing some basing as we speak. It looks a bit like a ballista, but you appear to be using kind of a teeny tiny trowel of some sort on the end of a very long stick. So what have you been up to, and what the hell are you up to now? Where did that come from?
Right, what I've been up to, and I'm really pleased because this basing, I've got this base and another ballista base to do. And once those basing's done, that's the Romans finished. They've finished the basing, and then the army's done, and that's well worth a cheer on my part because it's
we'll go ballistic.
Dinner roaming.
Andy, take yourself outside, mate.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased. And with that, to actually have got a whole 28-man army done for 25 or whatever they are.
How many bases, roughly? How many bases have you got?
I did 8 bases of Legion.
Wow.
4 of Auxilia, 4 of Cav, 6 Numidian, 6 of Slingers, 2 Ballista, a fortified camp, and the 3 generals. 3 general bases, which is 6 figures. So it's not huge, but it's about...
It sounds very good, although it does sound like it's missing the elephant.
You need an elephant.
Yeah.
And you'll never use 8 Legion anyway.
What about the cataphracts?
The knight is still young, isn't it, really? The knight is still young.
They're coming next.
You've got them.
Adam, with your baggage for the fortified camp, did you use anything in particular?
I did. What I did, because I was thinking, what shall I do? Because it's got to be fortified, and it's got to look fortified and Romany. And I know the thing about camps is they've always got to be a little bit stylistic because it can't look like an actual camp. It's got to be something stylistic. And I thought, I'll get something that looks stylistically like a fortification. So at first I thought, shall I do something with filler and toothpicks and stuff? And then I thought, well, can't be asked. So then I looked around for commercial available, and I got from Steve Barber.
Yes, yep.
They do. You can buy a whole Roman camp, which would actually take up about 3 foot, and they do all the ditches and the stuff. So I got just one piece because it was exactly the correct frontage, 120 mil. So here it is, not quite finished, but this is it. And in fact, once I put a Roman with a shield peering over the top. So it was a tenner, and good thing about it is it'll do for any fortified camp, really. The downside is it's sort of like it hasn't got corner bits going around and stuff. But as I say, it's sort of like stylistic representation of a piece of fortification. So that I was quite pleased by. Old-fashioned resin.
Yeah. Are you saying that's a tenner because someone's listening to you? Because I'm on the Steve Barber website as we speak, and it looks like it's 17 quid for a straight section. 28 Roman marching camp straight section, or was it just £17? Maybe it's
right. It's
12 by 12 by 6.5. Maybe yours isn't quite as deep as that one. That's an interesting one.
Oh no, it is deep. It's like this half here.
Yeah.
I'm going the front half, the ditch. I'm going to have to say that doesn't really exist.
No, obviously not. No. Or you can put it on
the
tape or
ditch-
something
Maybe
like
it was 17, but I do remember thinking, "Oh, that's quite expensive, so that I don't care." And
£17 sounds a lot more like that would be it's quite expensive and I really don't care thing.
No, I was admiring the ditch out and was wondering, have you got some stakes to put in it? That would make it quite cool.
No, just it's because the stakes.
Andy,
Stakes
you're not using steaks as part of a prep for your chicken Marengo joke again, are you?
Now, chicken Marengo wasn't kosher because of the shellfish. So,
Oh, right.
no.
Okay, fine. All right.
Although one thing I did like about when I did this was the palisade bit's metal and the rest is resin, and there's a groove in the resin to fit the but it was all loose and wobbly, so I just had some milliput and I sort of put milliput in and I put that in to stick them in. And I was thinking, I'm now old enough and organised enough to have things like milliput lying about.
You've got it kicking around.
Which is quite handy
and stuff.
Yeah, which is quite handy. But the trowel, I remember getting this in the modelling shop because when I used to do basing with wood filler and stuff, I remember using knives and just like implements and lollipop, and just it's one of those things where get the right tool and it makes it so much easier. So I've had this for years. I've no idea how much it is. I think the tip's a bit bent and it might have snapped off, but it's like this bit is a bit whippy.
Oh wow, it's a bit flexible. The end of it, yeah.
A bit flexible, so it's sort of it can smooth and you can sort of like level. So no idea how much it was, but it's as I said about the scissors. It's just really worth investing in the correct tool sometimes because it just makes the job so much easier. Available at all good model. No idea why you got this. Probably an artist shop.
I saw them at Great Art. They've got the
Stone Square probably.
No haberdasheries, mate.
Great Art will have it because you use it for oil painting. You're doing the thick oil.
Yes, it's probably art. So yes, a recommended tool there.
No, but it's funny because I actually got a set of similar-ish things, but smaller last week off eBay. It was one of those, let's have a look around eBay, because I realised exactly the same as you. I've been using a Swiss Army knife to spread that kind of filler onto the bases.
Yeah.
But it's just too big to fit between a lot of the figures. So it's really good for doing the bits that you can actually get to, but a lot of those bits you couldn't get to. And I was using like bits of scalpels and as you say, it just didn't work. And then I just thought, is there like a tiny trowel or tiny thingy? And looking online, there is a whole set of these tools, obviously, not for doing basing, but they're called for doing clay sculpting. So, if you, I guess we all remember that great Lionel Richie video of Hello, where he was the blind guy
stalking the woman
despite being blind, and sculpting his own head or something, whichever. We may be misremembering that.
Yeah.
But it was like, hello. No, won't even try it. And I almost started there. How dangerous that was. Yeah, another career down the drain. But the art of clay sculpting, you get this whole set of different tools. Now, some of them are just kind of too pointy or whatever to ever be used, but some of them might be used. But out of this set of 6, there's at least 2 or 3 that you're like, yep, that's like a little mini spatula thing on a long pole. And because it's generic bits of metal off eBay, it was about £5. So clay sculpting tool kit or whatever is the answer. But
I am a little bit upset to hear that the Swiss Army knife doesn't have the proper attachment for it, though.
Well, it's only one of the kind of the normal standard ones. It's not one of the, I think the problem was if it would have the normal attachment for that small stuff, it would actually be too heavy for me to pick up and use with any degree of detail at all. So have you actually finished some of the painting this week, or has it just been solid basing?
Well, no, it's I painted the 2 ballistas and the camp. So because the 2 ballistas, it's only 4 crew figures and a couple of things, so it's actually surprisingly quick, and I'm just finishing them off now. So it's all quite groovy. All I've got to do is wait for it to stop raining so I can put the last coat of varnish on the Numidians and these chaps.
Okay, but you did wave a box of cataphracts at us as well earlier on.
Well, this is That's their Dacian stations, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning. Well, they can also be used with this army, but that's the beginning of the their summation campaign. That's the beginning of the summation thing. And I must say, actually, for the next week or two, I don't paint hugely quickly, but after finishing an army, I think for the next week or two, I might just sort of like chill a bit, and I might do a little bit of preparation of figures. But sometimes the painting, if you're sort of like trying to finish something, sometimes a painting can stop being a hobby almost and start being a
Bit of a chore,
I was thinking of sort of like I might prep some figures up, but not worry too much about getting stuff done for a couple of weeks.
And how many bags of the Dacian infantry have you got then? From
2.
You're starting that 2. Okay.
I'm going to do 120, which is quite a lot.
Wow.
But it's a lot of warband, and that will give me all the options for bows and stuff.
Okay.
So
and the Victrix box bag comes with the bowmen and the skirmishers and the phalanxmen or falksmen.
Yeah, everything you need.
Everything. Okay.
If it's walking in the Dacian army, it's everything you need, which is kind of quite good. And I'm going to use some German cav because you need some Dacian cavalry. So I'm going to use Germans, and from that I'm going to also buy a bag of 60 German warriors. So that will give me a German army as well.
Wow.
What do Dacians have as their sort of like impact troops? The ones that they're going to go in, they're going to stomp stuff.
One fire.
2-handed cutting weapon elite.
They're
mediums, aren't they?
So you're going to do them separately as metal, or are you just going to keep them all as?
No, they come in the bag. You just give them the felts. You just give them the 2-handed choppy thing.
Oh, is that the one with the funny sort of like looks like a sort of
basically the Thracian
Japanese
weapon, but cooler? Yeah.
It's an implement for thrashing or something, isn't it?
Hopefully thrashing Romans. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And they're sort of like that's just a different arm attachment, and you can put them ones on the more noble looking bodies if you really want to. So it's so you get them, and you also get the ally of summation, elite heavy cavalry impetuous to do nasty
is that
things.
Fun army to play.
It is, because I was looking at the army list again, and I got them mainly because as an opponent to the early Imperial Romans. One really cute thing about them is if you lose the initiative, most people plan in a game of ADLG to attack.
Fair shout, yeah.
Sometimes there's sort of like value in being the defender, but usually people plan around attacking. So if someone wins the initiative roll against me and they say, "What terrain have you got?" I get to say forest.
Yes.
Which as
tricky for most people, isn't it?
Exactly that. It's like, so you can attack me in the forest or you can defend. It's up to you, and I'm not too worried which way you go with that one. So yeah, it should be fun.
No, it's a classic.
I was in a similar situation in a competition against Colin Sharp, God rest his soul. This was at Warfare, and I was using Hebrews, and he had Bedouin. And I won the initiative. I thought, I'll attack then. Hang on, I'll just look at his terrain type. And the only terrain type he had was desert.
Yeah.
And I thought, no.
Actually, I tell a lie. Actually, I don't get to say forest. I get to say forest or mountain.
Yeah.
Which also works just as well.
Okay, that's a good set then. So you think you'd just be like high on glue for the next 2 weeks as you FX glue some of these Dacians, whatever they are, together. That's
probably, and even then, I might not. I might just sort of like chill and watch Arsenal get beaten by Aston Villa again.
Yeah, no, well, it happens to all of us. There are some worse outcomes this weekend.
Well, it happens to you because you're a Fulham fan. You're used to it, mate.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So I will just now Paneka up an easy catch to the next person on the list, Mr. Leroy Mayer. What have you been doing this week? What's been on your painting pile and painting schedule?
So no surprise, more Renaissance figures. So I finally come to the end of my pike and shot figures for the infantry.
Wow. Right. Oh, so but you're saying that in a way like you're going to tell us a story about many cavalry then?
Well, because then you sort of look at your old cavalry and go, maybe I can repaint them better. So with the infantry, I've now finished off 2 more later tercios and just a straight musket unit. Because you always just need a unit of just lots of muskets
Yeah.
to run around. So I've now got pretty much every option possible, from the Italian war all the way through to the end of AD or GR. So
Wow.
and then he finds a new website of miniatures to buy.
Yeah.
But
So have you
I've
been
got,
doing a lot of biostrip then this week with old cavalry? Has that been part of the plan?
yeah, so I am, with the competitions being on, or use of a lot of the other models, I've gone back through some of my old, my first armies for Forgar, and looked at my mounted, and they were pretty meh. So have you found this product called Biostrip 20, which does sound like an interesting pun, but it's a non-toxic paint stripper. You can basically chuck your models into a takeaway plastic container or whatever, coat them with a bit of this stripper stuff, and leave them there for a couple of days. Every now and then, give them a bit of a shake, and it strips all the paint off. So then you just need you just use like a nail brush scrubber, and just with a bit of hot water.
Is that your own nail brush, or did you have to borrow that?
I do find to use my own one.
That's
a special
good, yeah.
one dedicated to this, because otherwise
Right.
you get into trouble.
Yes, I suppose that's true. Actually, it's not. Yeah, no, and I think the biostrip thing has been causing a bit of a sensation around the groups. Now, I've actually bought some a while ago on your recommendation, but this was the first week that I actually tried it, and oh my God, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's just although I did nearly go by the mistake of dropping the figures into it to let them soak, which nearly ended up with me with this sort of half-litre pot of what ended up was looking like it was going to turn up looking like I don't know, kind of vanilla ice cream with a caramel swirl, which would have really probably ruined the whole thing. So then you quickly corrected me and said, no, you sort of paint the damn stuff on and then leave them separate and give them a kind of bit of a mix. But really, really impressed. It took off some stuff off some old tanks, and I tried it on a 28mm plastic Malifaux figure, really quite a kind of a delicate one. You probably got
Does it smell, the bio stuff?
No, not at all. Not like
Not nicely. I used the Wilco brand equivalent.
Okay. Yeah, I found it because I've tried like using Dettol and obviously brake fluid and all that, but living in a small flat, you can't use it.
Did you say obviously brake fluid?
Obviously.
Brake fluid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he got it out of his drinks cabinet.
Yeah.
Australian wine.
Yeah,
It's the new version.
Yeah, it guarantees to put you to the floor if you drink it straight up. But no, this biostrip stuff doesn't smell. You can leave it in like I can have it in my kitchen uncovered and it doesn't smell particularly. It's got a slight smell to it, but it doesn't stink to.
Just don't put it on the salad.
Yeah, and you don't have to wear gloves to clean it off. Like you can do it barehanded. I mean, I do it in hot soapy water just when I'm giving it a scrub.
So does this mean you're now going to be hoovering up dodgily painted figures on Fleabay that sort of like, really expensive figures that people have butchered?
Oh, what you mean the ones called museum quality paint jobs?
Yeah.
Professionally painted.
Pro painted. Yep.
Isn't it normally just anything from Heinz figures on eBay? That those buy it now ones which there's just buckets and buckets. But then again, they're all wildly overpriced, so that doesn't really work.
Yeah, it killed me.
Can I just ask two questions before we go on from the biostrip? Firstly, Tim, you said about you don't just drop it in; you've got to paint. What's the technique again?
Well, I originally dropped it into the tin, the whole bucket, because I've got it's like a half-litre tub. So I originally dropped the biostrip in, the couple of tanks and a couple of figures and things that I was doing in, and then Simon went, no, that you don't want to do it because you can't reuse the stuff. So, but it's quite gloopy, so you can take take a handful of things and sort of paint it over them in a way, in quite a thick gloopy thing. It sticks them quite a bit. I think you do have to keep stirring them up, but it's white. So if you drop stuff into the pot, the paint's gonna dissolve in the whole thing, and it did look a bit like kind of very cheap vanilla ice cream with a bit of a caramel swirl in
So
it.
what? Do you just transfer some into another pot then?
Basically, yeah. Basically, yeah.
All right.
I've got a couple of like all war gamers. You've got a couple of takeaway plastic containers from the obligatory curry, and I just chuck the bottles in there and just cover them. Not drowning in it, but just sort of like
Next question.
Yeah.
The plastic figure. Did the plastic degrade, or did the
no, not at all?
Stuck?
Because it was quite a delicate one. This is Dr. Andrei Sokolov, who is a substitute figure for what's his name? Like the big beta for the Arcanists.
Was this the one you were waiting for a year, Tim, that arrived in the summer?
Yeah, it's the one that took like nearly a year to arrive from America, this one figure. And I did my first paint job on him and kind of screwed it up and it looked terrible. So I thought, actually, this is an opportunity to do it. So I took, and it just took all the paint off without degrading the plastic at all. So I've actually done him with some contrast paints now. Just because that's a slightly better look. It's a fairly meh sort of figure, which is a bit disappointing. But yeah, it just took him off. So originally I dipped him in it and then left him sort of hanging upside down on the end of a jar. So he wasn't embedded in it. It was sort of dipped and then lifted out, and the stuff just sort of, it's quite gloopy and quite sticky. So, you probably have to stir it up once over the couple of days, and then it's kind of done. I was really, really impressed with it. But Simon, I saw you going back to it. You'd done some old museum cavalry that you'd redone?
Yeah, so I had a whole bunch of the museum English Civil War generic guys on horses with pistols and the buff coats and all that. And my original paint job was pretty meh. So this stripped it right back down. You could get all the sharp detail back. You can see the horse, and you can see the fold of the on the horse where they've got like the blanket at the back. You can see the pistol again, so you can see all that detail. So they're about 3/4 painted up. So it also did a really good job. I stripped a while ago a whole bunch of Merlinton figures. Those really nice 15th century Swiss models with a lot of detail. And they stripped off my originally horrid paint job, and I could actually then dry brush it later on. So they've come out. You can repair a Peter, I've painted my army in gold spray paint type of job quite effectively.
Yeah.
Why would you want to repair that? Well, what is the repair? I meant to be.
Oh, sorry. Just final question on the stripper for Tamsin. You said that you use the Wilco own brand. Is that exactly the same, or was it cheaper for a reason?
As far, I'm not sure what price the either buy a strip is. So I'm guessing it. As far as I can tell, it's exactly the same, just not.
It sounds pretty similar.
Brand name.
Yeah, but I think the general point is there are commercial products which are better than trying to cobble it together with Dettol. Then actually, this one's pretty straightforward. So
This means war. This means war.
did you see, Simon, that Steel Fist have released some 15mm figures as well? For Renaissance. Ooh,
I saw that. It went, no,
really?
I don't need more figures. Oh, shiny.
How much are they?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it. It's obviously
because I keep looking at their 28, 25 gendarmes, and it's just like, oh, they're beautiful, but
it's a kind of a Kickstarter thing at the moment. So I'm just trying to work out how much it is. But I think the thing is, when I saw it, they sell them in packs of, or they're attempting to sell them in packs of 24 shot or 24 pike, and you're kind of going, that's a lot, isn't it? I suppose you'd end up, I guess, buying 2 of one and 1 of the other to give yourself that sort of ratio. But it means that you're buying 74 of the damn things, which which or whatever, how, depending on how you're based up for 15mm rule sets, that's normally what, even in Fogar, that's 24. I suppose that's 3 units, but you're having to buy 3 pike and shot blocks at any one time because of the way it's all put together. But obviously they're very, very lovely. Have you got the website up there, Simon?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
there it
just
is.
showing
Yeah,
you right now.
yeah. No, I
Yeah,
was
so we've done. So apparently this was a Kickstarter in February, which didn't even see that one. They've got some really nice lobster figures. You know,
oh yeah,
the first of
Oh, Hasrick's. Yeah.
the knights who then became cavalry. So you can see like the full plate, 3/4 armor, the pistol, and all that. Plus then type of ones for being like a Swedish or a more French style of cavalry with a cuirassier chest plate for the big sword going charge.
There's a nice variety of figures that lot. They look nice and solid.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. Any idea on pricing?
Oh, I'm trying. I did see it somewhere in the week. I wonder if it was on Facebook or something like that. There was a.
Well, if you pay 15 quid, you get one troop of horse. It says. I don't know how many is in a pack.
Was it 7th of November? Ah, here we go.
First
10
11
packs from the Kickstarter.
12. Basically, 12 pack of 12. I think it is.
Right, is this the thing?
10
here we go.
Coronet and musician and 12
it's
horses.
a pack of 24 for $18.95. So if you say that, so if you say your 50p for 15 mil figures is currently at the top end of the price range, these are about
60 or 70, aren't they?
More than 50% more than that. These are probably 80p a piece for 15 mil figures. So it's, and then the troop of cuirassiers is 15 quid for 12. Oh no, 10 cuirassiers, a coronet musician, and 12 horses. So
that's 24 figures.
15 quid for 12 on the cavalry, which is actually, I guess, slightly better than 20.
Cavalry is more cost effective than the infantry then.
Well, cost effective is, they're steel fist. If their 28 mil stuff is just staggering, isn't it? And they're obviously doing kind of well doing it. But yeah, it makes me look at my drawers of well, not look at my drawers. We're going all slightly weird there, but it makes me. Oh, it's pantomime season.
We don't want to get into more love egg scenarios.
No love egg scenarios. It's pantomime. He's behind you.
No, it isn't.
No, it isn't. Oh, no, it's not. But yeah, it makes me think: do I want to buy any more of these things? But yeah, still an interesting.
Yeah,
one.
on their website, it's it's $18.95 for 24 pike.
Yeah,
6 heavy, 6 medium, 12 with no armor, officer drummer.
It's not too bad. It's War and Empire or what? 16 quid for 24?
No, they're about 10, 12 quid at full price.
12, no, it's 12.
And you can always find someone to sell them for a tenner. But so these are 50% more than that. That's it. But great figures.
Looking at the photos, are they 50% better?
They look like they might be bigger than War and Empire. I mean, not the War and Empire do any Renaissance stuff yet, anyway.
But it might be it'd be one of those things where maybe for Christmas might be worthwhile picking up some of the especially the 3/4 cuirassier style of troops, because they're quite different to a lot of the other ones I've seen in the market. They're a bit more vibrant. So
I suppose it's that bigger picture, isn't it, about how, as wargamers, we all end up going, oh, how expensive is it and how cheap is it? And then you see something really nice that's a little bit better than other ones. You go, I want that, whatever the cost. I'll just find it and buy it.
Well, it's also a case of it's not that much more. And if you want to cheer yourself up, if you're going to buy some Steel Fist 25 mil Rondons, go and look at Games Workshop website and look how much they charge for one plastic or metal figure, and it's still a hell of a lot cheaper. So the market can probably bear the price, can't it?
Yeah.
If you look at those mounted cavalry, though, the pistols look somewhat over large. I mean, if you look at the middle character, the pistol looks like it would go from his hand to his elbow, and even then a bit further. So it looks more like a carbine than a pistol.
17th century pistols were quite long.
Yeah, I know they were bigger, but that does seem.
These are hard.
So did you did you lot like the old Testudo range?
Yeah, they work quite nice. It's a pity that they are now done by Kurosan.
So, yeah, they're done by Kurosan. I was just going to say.
Yeah, and I think some of their molds wore out for a while. They ended up not quite as good for a bit, but and actually, looking at Andy, that picture of the big carbine, it says that's a troop of arquebusiers with carbine brace of pistols. So maybe they actually are almost carbines. But yeah, it's that thing, paying,
Yeah.
Adam, as you say, paying proper money for some really, really nice figures. You know, we're not all trying to buy the cheapest thing possible. It is a question of value, and then value is like actually comes down to, do I want these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at it from a price point, you think of, okay, it was like £18 for 12 or 15 figures.
Yeah.
It's still a cheap hobby.
Yeah,
It's still a cheap hobby.
At the price of a curry, the miniatures
Yeah.
will last you for quite a few years. The curry lasts, if you like.
Now we're just trying to convince each other that it's worth spending all this money on it.
Well, no, price is a factor, not the factor.
It's a big market, and I'll tell you what, it's a big
Yeah.
market and it works, because if I was to do 25mm Italian Wars, I would buy one unit of the gendarmes from them because they are so beautiful, probably not more than one.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, my 100 biblical levy that I got from Lancashire Game, bag of 100 for about, I don't know, it was about £3.50, I think.
Yeah.
I'm also very, very pleased with them, to be honest. So it's a big market.
But one thing Tim and I have done with the 25mm plastics, like for either ADLG or back in the day played Fogar, you could use your plastics for your line infantry and all that, and then you spend the money more on like you said, the gendarmes and your real character ones. You go for, spend a bit of money on those ones where, I'm sorry, but your levy, you can be plastic models and all that, so you sort of counterbalance and all that.
Yeah.
He says it as he goes to the Warlord Games, who now got a sale on, going, oh, look, 25mm Landsknecht models. Do I need more of those?
They're quite nice, the Landsknecht ones. When I did 25mm pike, medieval pike for the London GT last year, I got mainly plastic Warlord, but I got some metal ones, and I put them in the front rank to tart up the unit a bit, so it had all the plastic ones behind them.
Well, I think that does make a difference, doesn't it? If you can bulk them out with some different types of ones.
Incidentally, just a shout out, there was apparently an advert for the London GT, which is on in September next year.
Yeah, no, they've rearranged it. We were chatting to them about it because I think at one point they were thinking about trying to run it in April, but myself and some of the other BHGS guys talked to them about it and said, well, trying to run in April is really tricky. I think it's going to be early May, but the problem is with lockdown, or even with restrictions and the rest of it about holding events, that's not going to, in theory, be lifted until the end of March, because it was the 6 months from some announcement back in October or September or something. So if you run an event and try and aim for early May, you're actually only giving yourself a few weeks after the date at which restrictions and lockdown could be lifted, which is a bit scary. So the guy who's organising it has decided it's actually a much safer bet to kind of kick it back to September and secure a date there. So, and I think that might be the case for quite a lot of trade shows. There's lifting of lockdown and allowing these things to go ahead, which will probably be gradual. And then there's the lead time you need to actually organise this stuff, promote it, get it out there, get entries, get traders signed up, all that sort of thing. So I think it already feels kind of difficult to see much in the way of events taking place this side of the end of next summer.
Yeah.
One positive side, I guess, for us, if the competition circuit is delayed till around June-ish, is ADLG 4 might have been released and we'll have actually had time to look at the new shiny.
Yeah. No, that should, well, I think there might be able to be smaller competitions. The Adam, like that thing with it will come back, and those things with 6 and a dozen. I think there were some restrictions in Wales. They've
let them out today, I think.
Yeah, I think if England follows Wales, they were allowing indoor meetings of up to 15 or something like that between different people at some point. So I think it could end up being, depends on whether it comes and goes in waves, obviously, usual caveats apply, but there could be
So you're basically saying with the ADLG4, we're going to be having our next wave of buying figures, and we're going to be doing more podcasts about more painting, while, as Tim's saying, we're waiting for the big competitions then.
Well, possibly, yeah.
These new lists.
Yeah, I think there could be some new lists out, which could be quite handy for us.
We'll just road test them on TTS. Then we know what to buy and what to paint.
Well,
No.
in theory,
All
if
of
that's
them.
Always.
yeah, just buy the whole damn lot, really.
Yeah.
This means war. This means war.
So where were we? So Simon, did we finish talking about everything that you've been painting this week? Did we manage to get through that this time? You done, or did we even start? I've kind of lost track.
No,
No,
all
it was
done.
Bio 20. He was talking about Bio 20.
Bio 20. Right.
Yeah.
So Andy, talking of strippers, then what about you? What have you been doing this week?
Not a great deal in painting, in fact, but I'm now painting up the some of the 15 mil stuff I had left over, which I was undercoating last week. So that's 8 camel archers for Seleucids and Persians when I finally get around to buying them, and then some dismounted Norman armored geezers for more dismounted knight things.
All right. So there's obviously a finite limit about time that you can go on before painting Dark Age armored infantry with kite shields. It's just some sort of contractual obligation that you have to do that on at least a fortnightly basis.
Something like that, and it's so far I haven't quite run out of ideas as to what styles to paint the things.
There's any different woodland animals going onto the shield designs this week?
No, I'm not, I wouldn't even dream of trying to paint a badger onto a 15 mil shield. That'd be bad.
I've got a feeling that quote might be the outtake that we recreate at the end in the aftermarket thing.
Yeah, and to be fair, just to be fair, on the 25 mil stuff, I didn't paint the badgers on. I copied and printed out pictures of a badger and stuck them on.
Right. Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't want you to think that I've got the skills to actually paint freehand paint something that looks like a badger.
Well, those would be very valuable skills. I'm sure if you advertise in certain magazines, there'll be a lot of people keen on someone with freehand badger painting skills.
Possibly
at short notice. I don't know.
I think they'd be disappointed when they engage me to try and deploy those skills. But then I've suddenly remembered I've got all these miniature ships that I ought to paint at some stage. And speaking to Simon, and we had a game of ADLGR, and I thought maybe I haven't got any 15th or 16th century armies. Perhaps I need to think of acquiring one and thinking which army do I want to do. So in terms of buying 15 mil armies, it's not going to happen immediately. But the two immediate targets are early Achaemenid Persians when Museum have their sale in January, if that happens, and then possibly something of a 15th century, 16th century idea, and I'll be open to suggestions as to what might be a fun army to buy and paint for that.
Okay, well, maybe that's a topic then. Which 15th, 16th century army would be the one to go for, and maybe we can bring that up in another couple of weeks' time. Did, doing the Roman picking one was quite an interesting discussion last week. So, which 15th, 16th century army could be something? If anybody has actually remembered to write this down, maybe we can remember it in the future.
Well, mind you, I say probably more 16th and 15th, because 15th I've got the Condottieri and I've got the Ordnance French, so those I'm happy with them. Okay,
and is there anything any new tips or tricks or things this week, or has it been much of a muchness with the similar sort of stuff that you painted up before?
No, nothing special. I mean, the only thing I'm doing a bit differently for the flesh for my little Arab guys is I painted them brown, and then I've kind of sort of dry brushed
highlights of
flesh over them. That seems to go okay then.
Okay, that's good with those particular figures. All right.
Yeah.
Let's have a look around. Dave, you're still busy painting away in your spotlight there. What's been on your workbench this week?
So AB miniature 18 millimeter Württemberg infantry.
Oh, Württemberg.
So I've painted one regiment who is the von Schafferstein regiment.
Is that a real thing, or have you just made that up after drinking too much beer?
I've been doing loads of research. The Württemberg infantry is pretty thin information on it. So I found some German guy who's got a website. So I've got the von Schafferstein regiment painted. They've got yellow cuffs and collars.
Okay. What kind of coats have they got? The dark blue?
Dark blue. White trousers, dark blue jackets, yellow cuffs for that regiment.
So they look a bit like Prussian Silesian infantry then.
They look like Bavarians. They've got the sort of like strange helmet.
Oh, the Alpenhelm type thing, yeah.
Yeah. Which they're really nice figures. I've done them with the marching figures.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm going to have 3 regiments, so there's only 12 figures.
Yeah.
Regiments. At the moment, I'm just sitting here painting pink cuffs and collars onto another regiment.
Right.
So I can't remember which one they are. I think they're the Kron Prince. No, they're von Frankemont. His regiment.
Yeah, you are just making this up, aren't you? Really? All
No,
the time.
I've actually heard of that one.
It's actually Van Damme's division.
Right. Dutch Belgian, no?
Yeah, no, some sort of. Actually, Andy told me about this guy Van Damme. I looked him up online. Turned out he's a real geezer.
Yeah, he did a bunch of movies.
Shot for desertion and various things, for looting. And
Drinks a lot of Coors Lager, doesn't he? Is that the one?
And I found a battle in
I did tell you the anecdote, I'm not going to repeat it, about when he was brought up before the Tsar and said, at least I didn't kill my father.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a fun historical thing. So, 2 regiments of those are down. And then I've been doing some Eureka Samurai Warrior Monks.
Oh, okay. For your extra bits then.
So they've got little. You won't be able to see those.
But no Franks this week then?
The flags haven't arrived for them.
No Franks.
No Franks are all done, dusted, and back in the cupboard.
Crikey.
The warrior monks have got little hoods on and masks, so they're quite funky.
Cowabunga.
Proper Eureka, guys.
Yeah, and and a limber, a Napoleonic French limber, which I sent you all pictures on the WhatsApp group. So that's I'm really pretty pleased with that. Although it's so bloody huge, it doesn't fit on a 80 by 40 base.
Details.
Yeah, if it's not fitting on 80 by 14, it's really just a marker. That's quite substantial, isn't it?
But if you actually wanted to paint up this AB gun limber, you'd need something like about 160 by 40.
How many horses have you got pulling it, Dave?
If you wanted the 6 horses and the limber,
and you don't need more than 4. That's where you're going wrong.
That's what I've done. I've done 4.
Yeah.
Need, want.
Yep.
I now need a second limber, so to use with the other 2 horses. That's all the limbers I'll ever need.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really, really pleased.
Well, you have to sell a kidney. You can buy another AB one then.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, these Württembergers is beautiful. Absolutely, really chuffed to bits with them. I've managed to do the trousers I've sprayed them black and then painted white over them, so they actually look like they've got shading on. It's they're such beautiful figures.
Okay, so has it been Württembergers beating the samurai in terms of your favouritism then, or
No, they're all on the table together, so I sort of switch between them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's mainly been the Württembergers, I have to admit.
Yeah, you got a love of Württembergerism. All right.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, talk about love of burgers then. Peter, what about you? Adam, you're in.
One last Dave question. Sorry. And it's going back to last week, so I'm going off on another tangent. I'm talking about the Romans because I've been looking at doing late Romans, sort of like going into early Byzantines, Justinian, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the equites would start being armed with bow, which I always thought probably because of Barker was due to Hunnic influence. But Dave, you said last week early Byzantine cav looked basically the same as Sassanid cavalry.
Yeah, well, they'd be say somebody like what's his name? What's his name? Count Belisarius.
Yep.
Belisarius is so you have in a Byzantine army that period you'd have the bodyguard of the general, the Bucellari.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be better equipped, but a lot of those in his army, a lot of those were actually Persians that joined his side after the battles. So yeah, a lot of them would be Huns, a lot of them would be what we supposed to be called Thracians. They called Thracians sort of period, but a lot of them would have been Persians as well.
So if if I did the Justinian and the mass of the cavalry, I use the same as what I'll be doing for late Imperial Patrician,
Yeah.
Romans with bows. And then for the bodyguard and stuff, if I use something more exotic looking, would that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do in 15 millimeter? Or are you going to 25 millimeter? Aren't you?
25.
Yeah, because I don't know. They'd look heavily Roman, so you'd have like Roman armor, Roman helmets. I wouldn't go for the half-armored horses and all that nonsense.
No, yeah.
I just put them. I mean, you might want to put the Bucalari, the bodyguard of the general, on the elite guys, because you've got 4 bases of those. You can put them on barded horses and things like that to make them look.
Okay. Okay.
If you,
Sorry,
Adam,
Tim. Back to you.
Yeah, Adam. If you need any more Roman heads, I've got loads and loads of spare ones from the gripping beast infantry that I got ages ago. They're plastic infantry, so I didn't use all the Roman heads. There's loads more per pack. So if you need to kit bash any of your cavalry into being more Romany from whatever they're actually bought as, just let me know and I'll send some heads to you in the post. Probably be quite a thing. So Peter, what about you going to you in London? What's it been up to this week for you?
So I've been painting a few Napoleonic horses, slowly working my way through that. I've just been doing fits and starts. Ended up doing a bit of research, and I liked how you'd painted your Arabs, the blackguard in black, using the contrast paints.
Painting the blackguard in black was something I was particularly proud of. There's a bit of a lateral thinking there. It was good. It worked.
It's getting the colour right.
Outside the box
I'm always impressed about that, getting the colour right. It's one of those things.
Yeah, took a lot of research.
It's not normally the same thing.
Yeah.
But it was more about the shading and the contrast paint. So I've actually invested in some of those, and then hopefully tomorrow or the next day I'm going to order some Brunswickers, because my Austrian army can actually have them as Friege Corps. And Dave and I, when we played Battle Empire, what feels like a long time ago now, it would have been nice to have some skirmishes to try and beat up the French in retrospect. And so I can have that as a unit and then possibly reuse them elsewhere if I ever do the British. But I just fancied it because I didn't fancy just painting straight black because they just looked a bit boring. But having seen those contrast paints, I think it'd go quite nicely on them.
Yeah, that paint of just looking at my contrast paints here, which whatever it was called, it's obviously called Black Templar. Comes out really, really nicely. It's got a little tinge of almost green to it, if you do it over a white undercoat, it just gives you that texture and shading straight away, which as you say is so difficult doing it. So if you actually bought that and started, you managed to get that delivered and you've started using it?
No. I've ordered the paints. I'm just going to pick out the troops as well. It's not too many. It's just a couple of line units and some Jaegers. But I've ordered some more of the contrast paints because I've got some fantasy figures as well. And I just fancy using it for some of those. Using the contrast paints, nice proper green orcs and that sort of thing. Because, you've just got to do these things every so often. Just give me a break from Napoleonic stuff.
Yeah. Which company did you order the paints from? Who's, because it looks like nearly all of these companies are sort of still open now, doesn't it? After, I guess, a bit of a fear that they might sort of go into second lockdown.
Took it easy and just went on Games Workshop and just ordered there. You could pick out the individuals because on a couple of other companies, you'd have to order a pack and stuff like that. But I've already got some of them. So I was just supplementing what I've got. So there's that and ordering a couple of other bits and pieces which are on their way.
Okay. So direct from the Evil Empire itself then, from the Tower of Sauron or whatever.
If you want to do Black Templar, you've got to go to the Evil Empire. It just stands to reason, really.
So is this sort of an excuse for you saying that you've not actually painted anything at all this week? Or
no, I was doing the Napoleonic horses. Slowly,
okay.
Yeah, slowly getting through those. It's just, I find horses, either I'm in the mood and sat in the garden, it's nice and warm and I can do them all in a patch. Otherwise, I kind of faff with them because you keep thinking, oh, what can I do to make it more lifelike? I blame it on the fact that both my sons learnt to ride, and so I spent many weekends going down, taking them to the stables and looking at all the different horses. So I feel bad if I'm not trying to give them some sort of justice and making them look like lifelike.
So really, you've actually done
have a
too
bit of
much.
life around them.
You've done too much research. Then that's the problem.
Yes, too much research and too much being around some nice horses.
Oh,
Peter, there's a unit of Brunswick Light Infantry. I think they're called the Oils, OELS, who are armed with rifles. And that might be you might want to look them up. But I think they had dark green uniforms. That might be an interesting unit to do for the Brunswick Army. It gives you some rifles.
They're the
they look a bit different
Jaegers.
colour-wise.
Yeah, they're the Jaegers. So I was thinking of those because I just fancy it to try and torture Dave's skirmishers back when he turns up with all the French again, who can skirmish, do everything, bit of a sort of Swiss Army knife. So I just fancy giving it a try because I'm enjoying all the different troop type mixtures.
Okay, all right. So and so you've already done your painting, you've done your ordering. Your next couple of weeks are all set then, just with yet more Napoleonic stuff. Really, it's just a world of Napoleonics.
Yeah, just line up on Napoleonics and then spice it up a little bit with a couple of fantasy figures with some of the more lurid contrast paints that come through.
Yeah.
I've just got a couple of orcs that I fancy doing that I just couldn't find the right shade of green. That's
Right.
sort of like suitably sort of like flamboyant without looking as though he's going to a Mardi Gras.
Yeah, orcs at a Mardi Gras. I think that's the new Two Fat Lardies website rule set, isn't it, or something like that.
This means war.
Right, Tamsin, what about you? What's been hitting the painting decks this week?
Not a lot.
Oh, they look pretty.
Oh,
I
these the more Lancashire games.
last time I painted the horses, and I think I'd done the flesh on the riders. These were individual leader figures for my infamy force. So there's 15mm figures, all from Donington. Went through all of last week, look at the figures thinking, painting each one individually. No.
Yeah.
Void. Sorry.
No, I think that's a bit of an asset, certainly on 15s as well.
Yeah, and then Saturday I just sat down and got them all painted, including a little bit of extra highlighting on a couple of the horses. So I made a bit more effort on all of these figures and finally, so I had a base because for most of the barbarian forces, you can have a steward's base, which
Steward, in case there's an inquiry.
Stewards that count. I use it as a rallying point and also a resupply point for units which are armed with javelins, particularly cavalry. So I had 2 pack horses with javelins and a figure. I think that was actually from one of the herdsman figure from Donington.
So, do you think this is a rule set where units of infantry have to go back and be resupplied with fresh javelins?
Normally for cavalry, but infantry as well. In most cases, you have a limited number of javelins.
My God, because as a big battle wargamer, that level of detail fills me with horror, really, as a concept. But I guess that's the thing.
That's why you've got quartermasters for that kind of shit. Where you take command of the battle.
You talk it. Infamy. You're talking equivalent of a modern platoon. Sort of
Right.
half a century for the Romans. So it's a small war.
So you're on about going for skirmishes versus big battles?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's been a bit of a discussion, isn't there, about this on all sorts of different internet forums about whether big battle sets or big battles or something like that are the current thing. And I think, Adam, I remember from possibly a couple of months ago, even now, you were talking about how Saga didn't quite. You just thought skirmish games were a little bit overrated or something.
Well,
is that quite the word? It's just a time and a place.
For me, it's like I got into skirmish games. God, my boy's 11 now. When he was going to be born, I was thinking, I'm going to run out of time to paint big armies, so I want to carry on painting bit stuff where I can get stuff done, and that's when I started playing Malifaux.
Yeah, that's true.
And Malifaux, if someone was just interested in a game, I would recommend Malifaux as a game. It's just brilliant. All this stuff, conversation we have about army lists and do this, don't do that. Malifaux just does that better actually, and it's really interesting game. But it's not history. So if you're not into if you're not into steam powered robots, A, you're weird, and B, it's not the game for you. But and I've got Saga, and I really, really enjoy Saga. But and these sort of like big skirmish games have become very fashionable because it's like easy to do. But I just remember I got into war games because I remember at my local news agents, I saw the very first copy of miniature war games. And if you remember the early miniature war games, all the photographs were like full-page colour photographs, which for 1984 was fantastic, of Peter Gilder's collection of Napoleonic and American Civil War figures on the whole. And it looked fantastic, like big wadges of units of cavalry of stuff. And I don't know, this skirmish game, especially the mass skirmish game that's fashionable these days, it kind of misses out on that. It kind of misses out on that really impressive visual element to the game. And yeah, I've gone back to, I want to play big games. I want to play battles. I don't want to play Scott. Well, no, I say I don't want to play. I still enjoy it. I still do. And still enjoy playing Saga, for instance. But it's, I mean, a proper war game is one where you got lots of troops on a table, and it's like, and they're all spread out, and it just looks better, I feel.
We went through a phase of Saga at the Central London Club, didn't we? I went over to it from playing Flames of War, having lots and lots of tanks on the table, to then suddenly playing a skirmish game. It went down a treat for a while. We had a real phase of it, but we seem to have, moved back to sort of ADLG in the main. There's a few people doing skirmish games.
Mind you, I would question what you said there, because I actually like Saga. I think it's a good game. I enjoy it. It's not history, obviously.
We enjoy it.
Trying to be history, which is fine. But even the term skirmish versus big battle, Saga, you've got about 50 figures on the table, give or take, roughly.
Typically, yeah.
Skirmish is like, could be 8 figures. And there's a difference between a skirmish game with a few skirmishers, which can also be a very good game. And Malifaux is the one that I play, where you do have 8 figures on the table. And 50 is almost like pretending to be a bigger battle, but just doing it with not so many troops, almost.
Yeah, Saga, depending on which army you picked. I mean, I went from doing Flames of War, which is, loads of tanks, everything else on, to doing Saga. And for me, Saga is a more beer and pretzels. You've got to know what they're playing sort of thing, as opposed to anything else. And it's more like it's more a skirmish mindset set of rules, if you get what I mean. With
I think though, I think where Saga falls down is where you have some of the scenarios are a bit peculiar and work particularly well with some factions, but not with others. So I think they needed to be a bit more work in the basic system so it could work a bit more universally, and then it would be a better game.
Yeah, but I think that's about Saga as a game. But I think, Peter, one of the things that you were mentioning there is about beer. I think you said beer and pretzels, and to my mind, there's almost an element of any skirmish size game should be beer and pretzel-y, really, because you're not using much and you're not bringing many figures to it, so it should have a sort of pick up and play thing. And I think going back to Tamsin, what you were saying there about the idea of in inverted commas, skirmish type or smaller game that's got javelin resupply, those two things feel to me like they're in tension for what my concept of what that sort of game should be. But
it's a mechanic. I mean, how many javelins? It's to some extent it's about limiting the number of javelins that cavalry would be. Cavalry particularly would be carrying and able to throw, and how many times. But cavalry will start off with 3 javelins. That's 3 turns. How many times are they going to use the javelins before they charge in? It's there.
Also,
if they need to resupply, they can. But it's more, I've skewed to them more as as a rallying point. Romans
Okay.
have something have something similar. that they
Also, on the more general point, skirmish games tend to be the opposite. They tend to be the more complex games, not the beer and pretzel games, because what you tend to get is like fewer figures and more rules for each figure. So if we play ADLG or you play any big battle rule set, whether Napoleon, any sort of thing, I've never had a game with a big battle rule set where someone's gone, oh yeah, and this is a rule for that, and I've gone, oh really? I didn't realise that. You know, I know the rules.
Yeah.
Whereas more skirmishy games, and again, it's like I'm mentioning Saga, I haven't got anything against it. I think it's a good game. I sort of went to a one-day competition in Toyman, and I played one chap, and his whole tactic, I think he was Irish, and he had a unit that they had a rule of however many casualties you do on them, you take the same amount of casualties or something like that. So it was one of those gotcha moments. And skirmish games tend to be more, here's the rule set and here's lots of additional rules for lots of different things. Whereas big battle rules tend to be, well, here's the rule set.
Look, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff here. I think we can probably string this out to be more than just a diversion, but I think we probably defined. There's a whole thing, skirmish versus big battle. But let's pick this one up. Let's see if we can read some of these blog articles and maybe listen to some other people's podcasts and kind of come back on this.
The original blog post that I'd mentioned sort of to you guys was about at shows particularly. You see lots of small skirmish games being put on. But not so many of the very big, well over 1,000 figure games. And it seems to say that indicates that sort of big battle games are gone. But it's different.
Just shows.
Most of the skirmish games that are put on are there. It's there for a reason. It's participation games. You can't do participation game that has over 1,000.
No, you just can't do it. It takes too long.
It will take all day to get a bit. So a lot of games there.
Most big battle games at shows tend to be more like static displays simply because they just don't get round to making one or very many moves with it.
Either that or it's the game with my mates, so we can all get in for free, and we're not going to talk to anybody that comes along.
Well, I think on that point, that sounds like a good idea to take this up next week. Then we can maybe have our own podcast and not actually publish it. We'll just talk to each other about it and then recreate some of that sort of at show experience. But going back to the painting thing, which is I think where we started. So you've done a number of you've gone a sort of semi-production line thing for your officers and unique figures to give them a little bit more love and attention than the line infantry.
I did it for thinking, okay, right, this colour, can I use it on just this figure or more than one figure? And they were mostly painted as individually as possible. Metals obviously could be done on all of them at the same time, but it was when it came down to the clothing. One of the Roman officers, he had the white painted armour. So if I could use the colour on more than one figure, I did. But mostly it was in sort of each one separately. And started work on the foot leaders. All I've done on those so far is the flesh base coat and a wash. I'll be carrying on with those tomorrow. Okay,
so it's been kind of a decent week for numbers of figures, but they've all been quite tiny for you then. There's no extra terrain or something done this week? It's just been all figures?
That's it.
Wow. So do you think this army will be finished by next week, or are you in the final?
I'll have dismounted leader figures done by next week.
Okay. It'll be interesting maybe if we have a chat about big versus small games, if you're able to get a couple of practice games of Infamy in as well to have a look at that, or maybe see if there's something doable in some sort of demo game.
This means war.
Just trying to look around who we've is it just me? I'm the only person left now, aren't I? Yes. Yeah. Oh my lord. No, so it's been a week of finishing off Arabs as always. I've posted a load of photos of my Arab cavalry that's taken a bit of prep to get done. Just to get the photos online, I'd finished them a while ago, and I've pretty much finished the weird kit bash of Persians and Peri Afghans, and I think there was something else. I'm trying to remember what it was. Yeah, I think it might have been the 2 sets of Peri Afghans, War Games Atlantic Afghans, and War Games Atlantic Persians, to make them up in some sort of mad eclectic Arab. So I think the Peri Afghan figures are absolutely, of course, fantastic. They take this paint really, really well. That's been great. I've ended up using something that I'm not entirely sure if it works, but it's really just an odd collection of spare figures, really. So it's using the Sparabara from, it must be Sparabara from 2 different ranges, actually. Maybe I got the Victrix Persians and the War Games Atlantic Persians, and then the Peri Afghans. That was it, to do it. And I've ended up using the Sparabara shields to create some sort of half and half front rank big wicker shield, back rank bowman, kind of Arab Ghaznavid mixed shooter spearman infantry. And because they've all got Arab blokes behind them, they don't look too obviously like their Sparabara shields. And I think the fact there's 2 different types of shield in there, that works quite well as well. Although then again, looking at it, God, maybe it's even a bigger kit bash than that. I think possibly some of them might be the infantry from Fireforge's Mongols, who've got those big wicker shields as well. I think, Adam, you've done some of those, haven't you? Yeah, they've got some big wickery shields from that. So there's all sorts of odds and sods in there, and quite an eclectic group of figures that won't be out very often. I did a bit of bio strip, as we talked about, which impressed me no end, and I've finally finished a 28mm elephant. So both my 28mm elephants are now done. A very painful checkerboard pattern to do on a Gripping Beast 28mm resin figure that is now finally done, and that's been getting a lot of love on Twitter and on Facebook. So
not particularly well camouflaged.
Not particularly well camouflaged, no. But I think if elephants are kind of difficult to camouflage anyway, unless you paint their toenails red and hide them in cherry trees, which has always been the best way of doing that. So this Arab army, now I'm just looking at about 50 or 60 spearmen type people to do, which it kind of feels like I've done all the interesting stuff. So I'm just into that tail end of the army to do it, but they're sort of mostly done, and hopefully they will get over the line quite quickly. And then I've got to decide what to do after that. And I do feel that I should go totally left field and do the do that ship for Black Sails or whatever it is. But I've got a horrible feeling that I'll end up redoing a 10mm World War II army that I won't have used in years and upgrading that somewhere along the line. So it's been a finishing off the contrast paints, and I think once the Arabs are done, the contrast paints will go away, and I will end up browsing the internet and doing some more odds and sods of ordering of different things somewhere along the line. So that's been my week in painting. All sorts of this is going to be on the internet. I think we've got a topic for a discussion next week as well. So that's it with the painting.
This means war.
Well, look, that's the painting session done. That was an epic discursive discussion, I think, covering strippers and all sorts of other things, and lots of different manufacturers, and even getting into a topic for future weeks as well. And with that extra long painting session, it does mean that in the running order, I think it's probably time to bring forward the famous French music and have an early start in running order and possibly a late start in timing for Andy's quiz.
Comment les entendre? Question. Comment les voir? Question. Le trou est sans fond? Question. La légende le dit? Question. Elle dit aussi? Question. C'est une maladie? Question.
Oh, c'est la vie, incroyable. Andy, hit us with some answers from last week. and
Right, well, last
try and
week, if
remind
you
us what it
remember-
was. Yep.
Last week it was all about the Romans and whether the guys who I'd mentioned, who were all real people, were consuls, emperors from the early empire, or emperors from the late empire. So, in no particular order, there was Marcus Claudius Marcellus.
Consul.
Consul.
Yep, consul, correct. Otto.
Early.
Early.
Emperor.
That's right. Yeah, he was in the year of the four emperors in 69. Didius Julianus.
Consul.
Made up one. No.
Early.
Yeah.
It was Ken Dodd's ancestor. No, he was early.
Okay.
Julian.
Emperor.
Late.
Yeah, correct. Publius Valerius Poplicola III.
Early.
Consul, actually.
Yeah.
And Magnus Maximius.
He's an
He's
emperor.
got to be late.
Century.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Bigger.
He was written
Yeah.
around the edge of 50p piece or something like that. That's the motto.
He's the
Okay.
one by Harry Sidebottom.
Well, look, I think that's last week's quiz questions. I'm not sure. I think I understand less about it than I did before they started, but that's a good way to do. So I'm sure up and coming soon will be this week's quiz.
Comment les entendre? Question. Comment les voir? Question. Le trou est sans fond? Question. La légende le dit? Question. Elle dit aussi? Question. C'est une maladie? Question.
Andy, we've had a bit of Rome, we've had a bit of Gallic music. Hit us with this week's set of Andy's questions.
Well, this week, as some of you know, and we're going to talk about in a minute, we suffered a loss at the club when our club secretary, Clive MacLeod, passed away from a heart attack at the too early age of 64. And so in memory and tribute to him, his full name was Clive Duncan MacLeod. And so I've got a question about somebody called Clive, a question about something called Duncan, and one about somebody called MacLeod. So here we go.
Classic.
Number one, Sir Robert Clive won a famous victory in the year 1757. And what was the name of that battle? Number two, the Royal Navy had a warship in World War II called HMS Duncan. And what kind of vessel was it? Was it a submarine, a corvette, or a destroyer?
The Royal Navy still has a ship called, a vessel called HMS Duncan.
Well, yes, but it wasn't the World War II one, was it?
No, obviously not. No.
Right. Okay, I'm not saying it didn't have a modern one.
Yep.
Bottom one, a rubber ducky.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yep.
Yeah, okay. And then number three, in which century was there a general called Sir Duncan MacLeod? 18th, 19th, or 20th?
Okay.
So those are this week's questions with a nod to our late friend Clive.
Comment les entendre? Question. Comment les voir? Question. Le trou est sans fond? Question. La légende le dit? Question. Elle dit aussi? Question. C'est une maladie? Question.
Yeah, so for those of you who will have been down to central London or have come across us at events or competitions, or in fact probably many people in the wargaming pantheon around, I think, North London and also before that Tunbridge Wells, will probably know or may well know the somewhat, sometimes occasionally opinionated, but always very knowledgeable Clive, who, as Andy said, sadly passed away at the far too young age of 64 about a week or so ago. It's certainly shocked everybody at the club. There's been a huge amount outpouring on our club forum, and a big eagerness on the part of everybody to contribute, both to, I think, sort of British Heart Foundation as a charity, and also to participate. I believe that, even Clive's family were very aware how important wargaming was to him and the circle of friends that he had from the club and wider wargaming circles, and even in these restricted attendance COVID times, it's great that there's going to be space and opportunity for some of us to go and participate in the funeral, even as pallbearers as well, just because it was such a big part of his life. So I think without sort of further ado, just looking around, Clive was famous for, as I said, his knowledge and his opinions on certain governments, both of which were very always forthcoming. But was also very famous for his sometimes legendarily poor and genuinely poor dice luck, which didn't so much blow hot and cold as quite often blew cold, and somewhat tepid.
Ice Age, basically, yeah.
Yeah, Ice Age for a while. But I don't know, Andy, do you want to start us off with some Clive reminiscences?
Yeah. Well, can I just say that we had the idea for the funeral, and the family are happy with this, to have a floral tribute, which will be in the shape of a dice showing the number 1 on top of his coffin.
2 dice.
I think that's it.
And that would be that seems very Clive. And he had a good sense of humour. He was a Fulham fan, so I suppose he needed it. And he knew absolutely everything about history. There was, you couldn't ask him, you couldn't talk about history without Clive knowing as much or more than you about it. And he was very knowledgeable on not just military, but all aspects of history, and knew some wonderful anecdotes. Can't remember any particularly offhand, except for one, which about a British gunboat sailed into some place, I think it might have been Zanzibar, in the 19th century, with instructions to get the local chief to sign a treaty. And the chief says, "And what if I don't sign it?" And the captain of the ship says, "Well, in that case, I shall be forced to carry out the second part of my orders." So the chief signed it. What he didn't know was the second part of this guy's order, apparently, was if the chief doesn't sign it, just sail away. And I remember Clive telling me that tale, and it was quite a jolly one. In terms of wargaming, say that Clive and his luck were fairly legendary. And I mentioned it last week in terms of the context of the later Romans, that Clive and I were teamed up at a competition in Cardiff a few years ago. And in one particular game, Clive's luck was going horrible. So he picked up a dice, ceremoniously threw it in a bin to sacrifice it. And after that, he never rolled a 1 in that game.
It was obviously that one particular dice, wasn't it? That's what had dogged him through his life. No, I think I remember Clive coming with us to was it Salamanca?
I think he did go there. Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah, he did.
He wasn't in the best of health at the time. I think he managed to blag a wheelchair ride through the airport on the way back. And I think, did he lose his first couple of games and then sort of submarine his way up with a number of straight wins? But it was also the boldness with which, despite I think never having eaten funny foreign food at all in all of its previous existence, he actually gamely gave it a go, and we were eating some quite Spanish stuff over there. It wasn't quite wasn't quite just ham sandwiches or the rest of it, and he certainly gave it a bit of a go, but then there always was a point at which it would stop, and unlike his dice rolling, there was a point after which he would never be moved, and there were certain things that drew a line under it with that one. Did anybody else around the screen with a Clive story?
I've got a story.
Okay, fire away, Dave.
First started playing Art de la Guerre. It was quite early on in Art de la Guerre. It was BrickCon. So BrickCon is a lot of us who go to it knows it's a bit of a marathon. I think I played Clive about halfway through the competition, and I was using a heavy knight medieval army. And Clive was using a Mongol army, so he's got 4 heavy cavalry elite bowmen facing my 4 heavy knights, heavily armoured knights elite. And I just sit there and think, right, okay, he's going to run away. I'm going to have to pursue him across the table and kick his ass on the back end of the table. So I sail up to his cavalry, and as this is early on, I've got no idea how to play the game. So Clive promptly threw 4 5s and 6s, and I threw 4 1s. So all 4 of my knights, which went straight down in one go to be damaged, which is an achievement because the only way he could get them is to hit me on a 4, 5, or 6 and me to roll 1s.
Yeah.
And I sat there going in stunned.
Yeah.
The second guy, I charged him away. He came back, shot me again, and the same thing happened. It wasn't 4 ones. I think there may be the 2 in there instead of just the 4 ones this time. So I've got 1 life left. We then went straight into a combat, which he then killed. So in 3 dice rolls, he killed 4 heavily armoured knights at 14 points a pop. And I sat there with a huge gap in my army. So people saying that Clive had terrible luck.
He saved it up for you. That was it. You were the recipient.
Way as well, I have to say.
Yeah.
And
He was a good player.
Spoke about that all the time, and it was just one of the funniest things.
He was always very generous as well with explaining things and having a chat about stuff. Both my sons played against him in different tournaments, and they both remember him fondly by, one, they managed to beat him, which, of course, kids will remember that. But he explained and told them anecdotes about different bits of the army and everything else. And it's those things that they were quoting back to me afterwards, that General so-and-so was doing this and this person was doing that. Because Clive had not just an unending sort of series of different ones. You'd be sat there at the club with an army and you'd say, oh, I'm playing this one today. And he'd come out and start quoting some general or some habit or some odd different thing around either that, the battle, or the army that you're up against.
I think he was very much a mine of information on almost any topic. Absolutely any topic.
I remember last year, Peter, that at the London GT, we were in the same team. And he came up against one of your boys. It might have been Nick. Yeah. And Clive was using some Crusader army, and Nick beat him. And Clive basically said, Nick was really lucky to beat me. He says, mind you, perhaps I should have spent more than 20 minutes putting the army list together.
Yes. Yeah. That's always a good one.
But, Clive's legendary ability to roll ones was quite infamous. And I remember Clive and I used to play quite a lot of Fog and Fog R against each other. And we had this one infamous game of Fog AM where we finally agreed, maybe for the both of us, we should give up playing this game and probably not play against each other using Fog AM. So it was just showing how badly he could roll dice. So having a couple of units having a combat, I had a unit of bowmen. Nothing better than that. They were just bowmen. That's it. He had these elite, heavily armored foot knights. Hit the bowman in the flank. Maximum possible factors for him. Anything but a 1 or a 2, he re-rolls. He rolls 4 dice. I roll 3, or 2 or 3. He rolls 4 ones, re-rolls them, rolls 4 more ones again. My bowman proceed to roll and hit him twice, fragmenting him. Next turn, the bowman turn around and rout the unit. We both looked and went, maybe this is time to call on this game. Just this idea of these foot knights plowing to a bowman unit in the flank. You think, here we go, sunshine. And then getting routed off the table in 2 rounds of melee. You think, yeah, Clive, maybe we should burn those dice.
Yeah, that shouldn't really happen, should it? No.
But he did take his ability to roll ones with a sense of humour, especially with ADLG, where, as we all know, if you kill a general, or if you beat a unit where a general attached or in the front line, you can kill the general. We got to the point where a few of us, even Clive, sort of smiled at it. You invoke the god Clive to roll a 1. All hail Clive, all hail the great god Clive, give me a 1. And so he was always quite, I think, chuffed in some ways that his legendary ability become almost like a central London battle
meme, hadn't it? Yeah, it would become a meme.
Both ones in his name because we believed in him that much.
Yeah. Yes. No, someone who rolled ones and stayed in good spirits about it, even though it was more than it was statistically sensible. So, okay. So, yeah, well, God rest wherever you are, wherever you're rolling dice now, Clive. We'll all raise a glass to you. Here we go. Cheers. So in terms of the rest of the week, we've actually already got a topic of conversation for next week, which is quite remarkable for us. And the other thing, so then really just to rush around and ask what's on the painting table, what's in the purchasing queue, what we're looking forward to next week. And Dave, you look like you're hogging the screen at the moment for some reason. What's first up for you? Is it more of the same, or are you breaking into something new next week?
Well, I've got the Württemberg Light Infantry.
Okay.
So I've got to do a regiment of them. So that's 2 bases of marching. But I've got the figures for skirmishers as well. So I'm doing these AB figures slowly and carefully, and putting in all the bronze, painting the gun barrels, and putting the bronze on. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm going to do this slowly and take my time over it, I think, is the thing.
Okay, so very, very careful bit of Württembergering over the course of the next few days. Then, all right. Adam, you were saying that you think you might actually be taking almost a bit of a breather, a bit of a break. But have you heard anything over the course of this week that inspires you to say, actually, sod it, I do need some more stuff. Let's carry on.
Well, got an email from Victrix, who
that's true. Yeah.
Who are doing I think if you're on their mailing list, they're sending you an email saying, send this link to your friends and they can get 20% off our stuff, and then we'll let you have some discount as well. So that's sort of like a chance to buy more toys, which is always good. But other than that, no, it's just like it's trying to get this army finished. The hobby was becoming a little bit of a tyranny. So just to get it finished, I've been sitting down and rushing through it. So I'm going to take a week or two of chill out, back burner.
Okay. Yeah, that Victrix offer is quite something, isn't it? It's 20% off Victrix suddenly makes some of those packs very, very affordable. And I think I'm going to try and give a go at some of their new 12mm tanks, because that just the idea of getting some nicely detailed, consistent 12mm tanks to replace the kind of somewhat ad hoc collection of different manufacturers that I cobbled together previously for my set is very tempting. And then obviously I'm just going to buy a shed load of 28mm ancients at the same time because I'll be on their website and I won't be able to resist. So I think it's going to work very well for them, that offer.
I'm going to get some of their tanks, but they're surprisingly not cheap for plastic tanks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they work out well. Yes and no. They work out at it's about 18 quid for 6, which is 3 quid each. But I don't know if I think that still is.
They're kind of comparable.
Yeah, they're comparable. Yeah.
And if they're better quality, I don't care whether they're plastic or metal. But
I think that's where I'm at. Yeah.
So I'm getting one pack. I'm getting some studs because the Germans, 10, 12mm Germans, I've got to sort out because I've had some sort of like those World Museum painted ones.
Yeah.
I've had a bag of them for bloody years, so I need to get some infantry painted up as well so they can find the Russians.
Are you going to go with the or going to try the infantry from Victrix, because that does look like a good value? There's like I'm
buying a pack of infantry because I need infantry to go with the tanks, and I'm getting a pack of stugs as well because you just can't have too many stugs.
You can't have too many stugs. Proper group of stugs then.
So this 12mm infantry they do?
Yeah, they do like about 180 in a pack.
Oh yeah, I saw the pack. They got a pack of British and German late war, haven't they?
Yeah, no, and they look very good actually. They almost look like they might be too detailed for 10 mil.
How would they rate with Pendragon in terms of size?
We'll let you know when I get them.
We'll let you know when we get them. Yeah, but
I'll be
Pendragon are a
interested, yeah.
little bit big for 10 mil. So
Yeah.
but well, Pendragon are. I suspect most things will match Pendragon because that's almost the default standard for that. Okay. And Andy, what about you? You know, you're. I think we're possibly doing a second-hand 10 mil tank trade outside a parking lot just in back streets of Shepherd Bush at some point over the next couple of days.
I must get my dark glasses ready. Yeah. I'll work out the cost of those bases and we'll sort something out.
Yeah, no,
if you want to keep those tigers, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll probably do that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Apart from that, just carry on painting the camel guys and the Norman infantry, and that'll keep me going till next week, which I think at best, because I'm helping liaise between Clive's family and the club and Martin in relation to the funeral arrangements.
Okay,
that takes a bit of time.
Yeah. Simon, what about you? You finished your stripping? Have you got any other things coming down the line?
Always more stripping to be done. Going back through the older toys. But the focus for this week is to finish off the English Civil War cuirasses or guys and horses with pistols. And I'm also painting up, when we were at the Alicante competition in February, so just before COVID arrived, one of the guys there who makes 3D printed models, he was selling off Arab tents for baggage. So it'd be rude not to purchase a few of those. So I finally got them on the table, and I'm just trying to work out how to paint up the tents to be some type of Ottoman Turk type of tent. Be a bit more interesting rather than
stripes.
Yeah, I think you need stripes. Just don't know how to do the stripes properly. So
when you're saying tents, you kind of you were talking almost like a village rather than actually the baggage piece. Then is that the sort of quantities we're talking about?
No, luckily I wasn't too manic, so I only bought 2 of them. So I'm just going to do a small AD or G size baggage.
Yeah.
Don't need to go nuts on too many more big baggages that I've done recently.
Yeah. Okay. And Tamsin, what about you this week? Is it? I think you'd said that you're kind of within touching distance of finishing off this 15 mil infamy project.
Got the foot leaders for the infamy project to paint. That should have those finished by the end before the weekend. Then I've got a few more copperstone figures to paint for my Judge Dredd project. It's a news team, and there's one that will be an assassin or neo-Sov agent.
Okay. Does the news team have a female reporter? Because I've got this theory that all wargaming news teams end up with a Kate Adie.
I think the reporter is thick. I think there's a male and female reporter.
Okay, it's Kate Adie.
No, it's female reporter, male cameraman, 2 bodyguards, and there's for some reason a robot that looks so it's in a robot sort of waiter uniform.
Yeah, because every news crew needs a robot waiter, really. Yeah. I imagine. Maybe it serves them drinks in the bar afterwards when they're in wherever it is, the Hanoi Hilton or wherever these things are.
Futuristic Ron Burgundy.
Yes, yes, a robot Ron Burgundy. That would be a series to conjure with. Okay, all right. And I say, I think for I'm just trying to think. Peter, have we covered off you for the next week?
Next week,
you're just waiting for contrast paints to arrive, and then you're going to experiment.
Yeah, I'm finishing off some Napoleon horses and a few Bavarians, and slowly chipping away. I've got plenty to be going at, so due to be taking some days off as well, so I might actually get some stuff done.
Okay, excellent. So I think for me, it's just there's probably a few things that I'm trying to admit to myself, or not admit to myself, that I've already ordered, to see if they actually do arrive, that can distract me from 60 plus, finishing off 60 plus Arab spearmen and infantry, and doing a bit more basing. There's probably some more photography of those elephants to do, get a few more proper pictures of those up, and then just trying to come to that decision about what is it that I'm going to paint next that whichever it'll be something that I know that I'm not going to use for a long time. But I think I'm almost at the stage at which everything I could look at is sort of a very new project. So, do I do one of the new 15mm armies? That's a whole new army. Do I do the Black Seas thing that's been, I think I got for myself as a Christmas present last year. So the timing on that's probably creeping up quite embarrassingly.
There's of course the 10mm British Napoleonics.
There's the 10mm British Napoleonics that I've still not ordered yet, amazingly, but I'm trying to work out ways to order. I've noticed that I think it's Pendragon do some German tank riders, and it'd be madness to order a set of just one set from Pendragon, wouldn't it? It'd just be a waste of the postage. So possibly if I buy an entire British Napoleonic army, that would give me the
justify
impetus. That would justify it. It would just be make.
In fact, you would be saving money on the postage.
I'd be saving money on the postage.
Actually,
you'd
Tim,
be doing the world a favour, saving the environment.
Tim, let me know if you're going to be putting in an order for Pendragon, because I'll buy the 2 Tiger tanks from them.
Okay, well I'm definitely going to resist it for at least another week.
I can wait.
Because I think I've got to admit that I've bought some other stuff that's probably on its way that I shouldn't really have done. The joys of being stuck in front of a screen all day. So there's quite a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline next week. So we'll see what progress we've all made on painting on that. And next week we'll attempt to sort of vaguely more coherent, in-depth discussion about the difference between big games and small games. So on that note, we will all depart, and we will see you all, or hear you all, or you'll hear us all again in a week's time. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye. Bye.
Are we going to do anything particular to mark the fact that this is the 50th podcasting?
I think if we were, we should have planned it earlier. So
This means war. This means war.
you're just an unrelenting stream of sexist knob gags. You're just doing Jeremy Clarkson knob gags for everything you do. So it's just...
And it does get a bit embarrassed. Like someone in Toyman, they were sort of talking about how after the next lockdown, they're going to have a sort of multiplayer game of Megacock or something. It's just like, it's a bit embarrassing.
I wouldn't even dream of trying to paint a badger onto a 15mm shield.